Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This week is show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of Gannibal. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we immediately pick up where the last episode left off. I wasn't really sure. I was like, there's no way they're going to kill Daigo, are they? But I was like, I don't know, man. Like, Home Dude, like I said, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I'm going to pronounce it kind of like Iwa, like was beating the ever-living crap out of him. But it turns out he's still alive because he did save himself by being like, hey, there's a traitor amongst you. And so they're trying to interrogate him for any information. But it's kind of like, it's kind of a bit of a stalemate because if you do anything to me, more police will show up to investigate, which I guess at one point on one side of things, maybe they weren't too worried about it because they're like, they were able to kind of get the Kano thing like completely brushed under the rug. So like they probably weren't too worried about Daigo, but even more so than Kano. We know that Kano got pretty far into his investigation and found out a lot of stuff. So Daigo's probably at the same part. So it's probably like Daigo's kind of made more of a stink of it, I feel like, than Kano did. So there are, unbeknownst to them, there's more people involved. Well, to be fair, I was about to say the people involved in Daigo's case are just as much, they were the people that were involved with Kano's situation as well, who were just helping him out as well. So he ended up breaking free, but it's like they had guns locked and loaded. They were ready to kill him. But luckily, his boss shows up and ends up talking to the mayor and ends up getting Daigo released. So I was like, that's interesting. Because if he was on the real, we got you locked and loaded, like, if the chief was really on his side, why would he bother bringing Daigo out? Wouldn't it be easier just to kill him? That's the reason why the mayor let that happen, even though Keisuke's the leader of the family is still like, but killing a cop's going to draw too much attention. We already killed one and saw what the hell happened there, so we don't need to be killing any more cops, drawing any more attention to ourselves. We're already kind of like super red hot in all of this. So, but it turns out the chief showed up because he didn't initially believe what Kano told him all that time ago, but because of Daigo, like, he has kept investigating. In fact, he's got like a little secret squad put together because there are cops that are on the payroll who are connected to the Gato family. So the chief made sure to keep this circle super small. So, and Daigo kind of finds out for the first time, like, all right, so, because he's been handling this all on his own. That's why he didn't reach out to his boss, because it's like, I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if I can trust anyone. But it turns out it's like a squad of 5 people in total. It's like the chief and 4 more. So, and Daigo ends up explaining everything that they know, because they're figuring stuff out, picking up Kano's investigation, but obviously Daigo's learned a lot more. The fact is, they weren't even aware of the man with his face eaten off, because they end up finding out that, because he tries to tell them, like, right, the person who most likely ate Kano, because it was several bites on, I think his bones or whatever, and it's like, okay, so whoever ate him, it was one single person, and he believes it's like, right, the person they refer to as that man. And we've kind of pieced it together who that man is, because we learned from, I think it was Utada last episode, right? No, it was like wasn't it Nakamura, the doctor. He was the one that kind of brought attention to like who that man might be, that he's like 75 years old or something, because the records from Gen, her blood sample or whatever, because she had Kuro, the laughing disease, and we know that someone else had similar like stuff in their veins, and it comes from eating human flesh, and that is that man. Because I think Nakamura had dropped his name last episode too, but I don't remember. But we also find out about that member of the family who ran away. Her name is Ai, which we learned a lot of interesting things about Ai this episode. Home Dude, who I think the assumption was that, the kid she saved was her own. It actually wasn't. She's actually Keisuke and Yosuke's mom. And that was interesting. For one, it's like, your kids are still back there involved in all of this. You ended up saving some kid that wasn't your own, but that's because it ate away at her. Whereas a lot of the Goto family is able to kind of put it aside. Once again, Gen's perspective of, because I don't know if we've expressly said that. Well, no, because we know this dates back a while. So the whole eating human flesh thing dates back a while, because that man is from like 75 years ago. So, and he was like a kid when he was brought in, apparently having Kuros. So it's like, it's most likely, so I don't know if it predates Jin or not. Oh wait, because I forgot. Yeah. Because they did talk about like 100 years ago or something like that. There was no food, so they had to turn to cannibalism because they couldn't really grow any food. Well, it started off as like you killing like extra people because you couldn't feed everyone, but it eventually turned into cannibalism. So it hasn't been going on forever, but at this point in time, it's probably been going on for at least a century or more. So, but I was like wondering, did it predate Gin or not? And it's probably like around the time Gin might have been a kid. It's probably around the time the cannibalism potentially started. But yeah, I is Gin's daughter. And so, but I think it should, my whole point was like, they've been doing this for generations upon generations. And I mean, it's year after year too. So that's the thing. I has definitely participated in it, but I think it just finally became too much for her, especially at this time. Gin had told her like, hey, you should leave Yosuke and Keisuke to me and just go, because this is kind of what they want. It was specifically Keisuke that was like, yeah, Mom, I noticed you don't have a smile. You don't smile anymore, really. Every other smile is fake. And she kind of almost chokes him, being like, you have no idea, because I guess they're young and maybe they don't realize what's going on during those festivals, or they're too young to really understand them. Maybe the kids are left out of the festival until they become of age. And so it's like, right, you have no idea what's going on here, what I've had to deal with, like, probably most of her life, if not all of her life. And now, like, that's what I guess maybe Gin saw that, because she's like, yeah, the best thing you can do is leave. But it's like, all I know is this life. What will I do? And it's like, oh, probably should go somewhere and die. Because I guess Gin was already setting it up to be like, right, my daughter isn't in a position to become head of the family. So that's why she really latched on to Keisuke and Yosuke, because it was like, it was going to eventually become theirs, specifically Keisuke. So I think maybe that's why she did what she did. And maybe she always saw something in Keisuke that's like more family leader than her own daughter, maybe because she saw like weakness and pitifulness in her daughter. And I think just because I guess year after year, I guess rather than kind of being strong and upfront and ready for it like Keisuke appears to be, we'll get to that later, she's probably a lot more like Yosuke, where he's a little more sensitive, and it just, she's participated in it, but now it's finally like gotten to the point. It almost makes me wonder, did she finally get to the point that Keisuke has given to Yosuke now, of like, right, preparing the children? Maybe she's been doing it for years and years now, and it just finally grated on her. Because, well, it makes sense. She would be the one to do it, because Keisuke was doing it until he became head of the family, and at this point in time, Gin is still the head of the family, so it most likely fell on I to like handle the kids. So it probably cut her even deeper, like year after year after year. Not only you eating the kids, but you're also being the one that has to feed them and take care of them. You're a mother yourself, so it probably cuts all that deeper. So, but it became too much for her, and it's like, right, I won't be like, her main thought was, even if I don't make it out of here, at least I'll die with knowing that my mom, like, I saw the look on Gin's face. She was so like scared and worried about this not going down right. So it's like, go ahead, take my life. But you can even tell Gin was hesitating, because even though she's a traitor, at the end of the day, it's still your daughter. I think given enough time, if Keisuke hadn't done what he did, Gin probably would have put a bullet in her. But it's like, yeah, I'll threaten to kill myself if you don't let her go. And that would be our deal. And if my mom breaks that promise, then her life is yours to take. But if you try to do anything to my mom, I'll take care of myself here and now. And if you do anything to her later, I'll do it too. But if she breaks her promise, her life is yours to take. So that's the interesting dilemma that's been going on. And it's this complicated thing, because obviously Daigo had contacted the guy with the missing face, and he tried to convince his mom, because he was like, right, I do want to save other kids, so no kid has to go through what I'm going through. So if I can convince my mom to come testify, because that's the only way they're going to get backup from like SIT, which I don't know if that's supposed to be like the Japanese equivalency to SWAT. But it's like, yeah, they're only going to back us up if we can actually have an evidence, and if we can have someone's testimony, then that could change everything. And I think in as long as he could get his mom on board, because I think this was the first time he ever learned his mom's name, because she probably most likely changed her name, because he called her by her name and she was like, yeah, don't ever do that again. So it's like, yeah, even he didn't know it until Daigo was like, is your mom I? Because he made it seem like his mom was dead, and he did that on purpose because he didn't want anyone coming looking for his mom, because he knew that if Daigo found out that his mom was still alive, he'd want to talk to her. But it's like, right, my mom is alive, but I wanted to keep her out of this. Meaning, and also it's interesting knowing that he did this on his own. His mom probably definitely doesn't know about Daigo, definitely didn't even know about Kano. So that's really interesting. I wonder how he found out about Kano in the first place, because he's the one that contacted like Kano and like Utada. Like that was like the because he's the one that connected Utada and Kano, if I'm not mistaken. I think Utada said that like last episode, or maybe episode 5 or episode 6. But yeah, like going back to it, the complicated nature of, it's kind of like they protect each other. By I not saying anything, she ensures that Yosuke and Kisuke are like left alone, and that's the sad burden that Kisuke's had to carry on this entire time. He's going along with all these rituals. He even talked to I'm probably going to butcher it. It's like either Munichika. I don't know how you pronounce it. Do you pronounce it like Moonchika or Munechika? But was speaking to him because he was like, come on, we're both the heads. My grandfather is dying, and Gen is gone as the two most powerful people in this, with this whole situation, with them out of the picture. We, as the next heads of each thing, me as the head priest, you as the head of the Goto family, we could stop all this, but Kisuke won't, because he's like, I know that this is a curse, but I have to see this through, because it's the only way he can protect his mom. I mean, that's the thing, because, once again, dude, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but like I said, it's like Iwa. He is the one that would suggest that, like, oh, could your mom have been the traitor? And that's what set Kisuke off, because I was like, oh, you're starting to suspect me. And he's even like, Mom, what are you doing? But it's like, no, his mom had nothing to do with that. It's her adopted son. Which is even sadder, because he was like, oh, I get it, you're trying to protect your real sons. But she's like, no, they're protecting me. And I think she also feels guilty, because it's like, right, if I do this, I can end up hurting my sons. But also, they've done this for years. Keisuke in particular has taken care of all of this, been a part of these rituals, sacrificed so many children to make sure I stayed alive. Even upon Gen's death, it's like he's still continuing this, because it's the only way he can ensure his mom survives. So it's also like a thing I think of, it's guilt. Because it's like, that would mean like, if they take down the Goto family, that would also mean Kisuke and Yosuke, because they would just be as responsible and culpable as any other member of the family. And if not, like, if they don't get arrested and go to jail, then most likely die. So she doesn't want any involvement. She doesn't want to play a role in it, despite being able to save other children, if it means damning her own children, which is so interesting, considering like, wasn't fully something she thought about at the time when she saved him, but it's different circumstances now, because that was before Kisuke made his declaration to Gen. So, and yes, she's gone, but the rest of the family will probably like hold him to that. So that's even more so. It makes it even sadder, because like, and I think he understands as well, like her son. So that's why he shuts down like the phone and just doesn't answer when Daigo's calling him later. Because I kept looking at the time, and I'm like, there seems to be a lot left. I'm like, there's no way we're going to resolve all this, because at the time I didn't know the show had gotten renewed for a second. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, where's this going to go? Where's this going to go? I was like, there's no way this is. I was like, is this going to end on like a cliffhanger? I was like, is this show not going to be resolved? Is it going to treat like an anime and a manga? Because animes don't always cover the manga's entire story. So I was like, are we going to have a situation where it doesn't cover the entire story? Maybe it covers a portion. Once again, conversation we'll have later on. So I was worried about that. I mean, like I said, there were so many moving pieces. The cop that went to go check on Yuki and Mashiro, I was like, oh God, the guy that's like, oh, I can't find the address. Can you hook me up? I was like, oh, that guy works for the Gotos. He's a cop that's either he's part of the Goto family or he's on the payroll. Most likely maybe a Goto himself. I think I probably lean more towards that, but I'm like, he has to be. Like, the fact is he's looking for the address. And I love that the episode does not tap back to that until the very end of the episode. Because I was like, I knew to be suspicious of him. Like, there's like, this guy's like, oh, do you have the address? It didn't even cross her mind to think that that's an issue. she should have double checked with some stuff, but yeah, that led to everything last at the end of the episode too. They're not going to kill Yuki or Mashiro. They're most likely going to hold them hostage to get Daigo to submit. It's like, that's how we keep you. I mean, I'm curious. Like, it feels like that has to be a Goto family decision, but I'm curious who authorized that. Was that a Kisuke decision? Could it actually have been a Mr. Sabu's decision? Kaneko's dad, like, could it have been his decision? I don't know. I mean, it could also just be like Kisuke's dad's the one that set it all up too. I love the reveal that, you know, because we knew that the insider to all of this was the guy with no face, but I was also thinking like, oh, was there someone amongst the group that, like, my money was like, oh, it seemed like it might be Yosuke because he's the one having reservations, but I was like, nah, it's gotta be a red herring, it's gotta be Kisuke. It's like, nope, there actually was no insider. All Daigo was, he played that Iwadu for Chomp. It's like, right, the moment I told him that, I knew he'd get suspicious and go after the person he's suspicious most of, and that would most likely be who's ever might be guarding the children, because that person would be the biggest threat if it turns out they were the traitor, and that ended up being Yosuke. And that led, because Utada was nearby watching, and he like kept an eye on the guy and followed him, because we saw at one point in time when Iwa was like talking with one of the other Goto members, that you saw some like rustling in the bushes, and it was Utada like in camo, and but yeah, ended up finding out where the kids were, and so obviously Utada let Daigo know exactly where it was, but once again they can't move without actual backup, because that could get very nasty, because obviously a lot of the Goto family is armed to the teeth. The plan is to show up, you know, the next morning, the day of like the morning of the ritual. That way they'd be less guarded, but you know, you still need backup in case there are people saying, like, there's no guarantee that this would go smooth. There was actually this interesting conversation we never got the resolution to between the chief and Daigo. And the chief was like, what were you going to do if I never showed up? Would you have killed someone? And Daigo's like, he's like, no, I had a plan. My thought is that Daigo was going to sacrifice himself, because he probably wouldn't have killed Home Dude, but it probably would have been a situation. I mean, he might have tried to fight his way out of there, sure, but I think it could be, I mean, we know that Utada was watching, so most likely Daigo was going to be like, my plan was that if I died, like, then, like, there'd be motive for you guys to come through if my journalist buddy showed up to be like, yo, Daigo's dead, go get his body, yada yada, so on and so forth, because none of the Gonzos ever knew that Utada was there spying on them, so I'm assuming that would have been Daigo's plan, but we don't know for sure what he would have said. I think it is a thing of, I would have died, and he just probably doesn't want to say that out loud, but he would have kind of went full martyr with this situation, just to kind of see this come to an end. He'd even, interestingly enough, talked to Yuki about his anger. He's like, I had this anger in me. He's like, I don't even know how to control it. But when I think about what they've done to those children, like Kaneko's child, that I'm afraid I'm gonna hurt someone, just like the Mashiro situation. And Yuki's just kind of like, oh yeah, like, shut up. And like, as long as the fact is that you're able to recognize that in yourself means you're okay. If you were completely oblivious to it, we'd have even more of an issue, but you recognize that means you're not too far gone. You're not deluded enough. You recognize that issue in yourself and you can do something about it. So poor Yosuke, though, getting the snot beat out of him. Because, like I said, I think he was probably going to, like, he said, like, oh, I'd never betray the family. Now, I'm sure he was saying that just to say that I would, but it's like, I don't know how to fully interpret that. Either he literally was trying to get Kaneko's kid out of there. It seems pretty clearly that, because once again, it's like, the kids come up, like, the chosen one happens every 3 years. Like, once they reach 3 years old, and that was about 3 years ago when Kaneko lost her child and took her child, so all evidence points to that being her child. It's not been fully confirmed, but it seems like everything all points in that direction. But, like, it just seemed like he was legitimately trying to save the kid, but, like, maybe it could have all been employed, because he even said, like, oh, I'm not going to betray the family, but that could just be him lying. I mean, I guess that's also why, like, he was probably even more suspicious of them, because it's like, yeah, the previous traitor, you know, to be fair, it was Gen's daughter, but it's like, it was your mom, and you're young and impressionable enough that you might side with your mom. Because now part of me, what they've been feeding that man up until now, were they supposed to have been feeding them like flesh or something? Because like I said, Iwa was there in that cave, like, was it last episode or episode for last, and was kind of looking almost like, I wonder if he was, seeing that whole situation, especially with Kisuke there, probably second guessing him a little bit leadership wise, kind of wondering like, right, are you going to be more your grandma, or are you going to be more of your mom in this situation? Because you also tell that Kisuke was really annoyed. What was his name? Was it Ryuji, I think? Was kind of like a little drunk and being like, oh yeah, like the Goto family would go on and on and on. And then Kisuke was like, yeah, it's not that easy, because it's like, it seems like once again, the Goto family are exempt from having to eat their own children. So, because obviously it never came up with Kisuke or even or Yosuke when it came to like choosing a child. So you choose someone, I guess, from the village, because once again, as Gin put it, the family, they're the only ones that you can see as human beings. Everyone else is slabs of meat. Well, and then Ai is less than a slab of meat because of her treachery. But it isn't just like, oh, the worry of like, you'll have to eat your child. He's worried about having a child because he doesn't want to pass this curse on to them. It's like, it's bad enough he's got to live this out to protect his mom, but it's like, what's going to happen? Because it's like, the child having Goto blood means it's protected. Granted, it's going to be like, because Yosuke was referred to have tainted blood, but his blood is tainted because his mom is a traitor. Because like, there is, not that we're aware of, it doesn't seem like there's anything incestual amongst the Gotos, but we don't know that. Because I was about to say, like, their dad is, like, adopted into the family because of him being married to Ai. Well, they said adopted stepson, so I'm like, was he adopted into the Goto family first and then him and Ai got together? Or is he brought in, like, adopted as in, like, oh, he's the stepson, he's a son-in-law, because, I think I said stepson before, I meant son-in-law, because he was already with like you'd assume Gin probably would have a lot more control over that. She probably like picks and chooses. That's why I feel like he might have actually been brought into the family as an adopted member of the family, even though not being a Goto by blood. That's all, because they would also say that's why he can't take the leadership, because it has to be by blood, and so that's why it was supposed to go to Ai. Which makes you go like, so it must have been like the previous, it has to be specifically their bloodline in the family then. If it went from Gin, was supposed to go to Ai, and now it's at Kisuke, then it's like, so I guess it might have started with Gin's father, grandfather maybe, depending on the timetable. Makes you wonder, is that man tied to her family too? Like, is he like no, because they're about the same age, so, but they could still be like, well, we have no idea how old Gin is, but he'd have to be, that man is supposed to be like 75 or something, right? So it would probably have to be a situation of, when they say he had to be like 75, so Gin might have been around the same age as him, so it's like, maybe he's got to be part of the Goto family, potentially. Like, I don't know if that's like one of her cousins, or maybe that's a sibling. Because they had even brought it up, like, the Goto family, there was no one else in the Goto family who fit the description of that man. To be fair, he dates a while back, but he must not be on the Goto family tree. So maybe he actually has nothing to do with the Gotos. You'd assume, like, how he's worshipped and what role he plays in this, that he'd have to be. Iwa did beat the crap out of someone. I don't even know who it was, but he was so certain of someone else being a traitor. Once again, it's kind of sad because, well, technically there was no traitor because it was all a lie. Even though there technically is a traitor because of Ai's, like, adopted son being the one who ended up filling Kano and Gin in on about everything. But it's like, Kano and Daigo in on everything, but still, like, it was being, I wonder, is he going to go around and, like, still go after anyone else in the family going forward? Like, because he never got a confirmation from the guy. It sounded like he killed the guy, dropped a big rock on him, so dude's probably super dead. So I wonder, does he have something supernatural to him, or are we going to find out he just doesn't feel pain or something? Because it could be a byproduct of, like, eating flesh for so long. Like, maybe it kind of dulled or messed up his, like, pain sensors, or maybe he doesn't have any at all, or maybe there is like a little bit of a supernatural kick to, like, having eat human flesh for so many years or something. We don't really see it with anyone else, but it seems like he's the heavy hitter of the family, especially like when him and Daigo went at it last episode, and he absolutely demolished Daigo, and Daigo couldn't really like do any of his jujitsu throws on him or anything. Well, that might not have been jujitsu, because isn't it Aikido that throws? I think doesn't, because jujitsu uses throws, right? I'm all my martial art knowledge disappeared years ago when it's kind of vanished. I know, so I've never practiced martial arts. I'm just talking about from a technical standpoint of like the different like martial arts, just because I read and watched quite a few martial arts related anime and manga that get very like intricate with like the technique of the different martial arts styles and stuff, yada yada, so on and so forth. I'm going on a huge tangent, sorry. My point was Daigo couldn't toss him with anything, and it just seemed like nothing Daigo did really affect him, so it's like something's definitely the most off about that dude. But yeah, this season finale had quite the damn stinger. That's why I was kind of nervous. I was like, please don't tell me that like we're just gonna, if you know what I mean, you know, but don't tell me we're going to Twin Peaks The Return this. But it seems like we didn't. But it's like, right, we have Sumire showing up in town because, like, obviously Kisuke hasn't told anyone that she's pregnant with his kid because he wants to keep that low key. But her coming back, especially after what that family did to her dad, I'm sure that also plays a role on Kisuke's reservations about her being there. Mashiro and Yuki, I mean, it could be a thing of like, oh, Yuki got killed, but they took Mashiro. I'm pretty sure they most likely kidnapped them both and are going to use them as leverage. We even had that detective who he tried to say like, oh, I tried to stop Daigo. Was like, no, he didn't. He saw Daigo leaving and didn't try anything. I mean, to be fair, he was on the roof when it all happened, but he's fine with it because he's like the most chilled and relaxed about it too. He's like, oh, well, like, maybe Daigo will find us some evidence, but if he doesn't and ends up getting killed, we get to go in there anyway. And I'm like, is he actually going to be part of the Gato family or something like that? Is that what we're going to find out? Because his energy fit was very different than it was earlier. I mean, he's the one kind of like, yo, let's do this Daigo, but his laissez-faire attitude now, I mean, not really laissez-faire, but it's just like his whole attitude and energy kind of changed in that final scene. I'm like, what the hell is that about? So, like, are you an insider in all of this, stringing the other cops along, or is it a situation of, nah, like, I just think tactically speaking, like, you want to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs, and it's like Daigo might be the proverbial egg in this situation. That might be the starting point for us to get our metaphorical omelet, that being taking all this down and stopping the kids, because it's like we have to, and saving the kids because we have to, because the ritual starts up. But before Daigo could get there, and he was beat by a couple hours. It probably wasn't like they didn't probably just leave. It's probably been a couple hours, but by the time Daigo shows up, Kisuke's already left with Yosuke and the kids, and the village is already preparing. And I think that's interesting because that's like our only time seeing like the regular village and not the Gato family, was just them like bringing up the straw man. That was kind of the only thing, and we just see Kaneko on looking at everything, knowing like right what's around the corner. I don't know if she really because she believes her baby's still alive, but she probably doesn't really know for sure that her baby, her child, is going to be the next sacrifice. So, and then obviously the final shot we get of the episode is Daigo getting attacked by that man, which we saw that's how Kano met his end. Daigo had his run-in with that man earlier in the season, got away with a cut on his head, but yeah, might not be so lucky this time. We'll see. I'm curious if we're going a little... I'm basing this on the TV show. I've only read a tiny bit of the manhwa, or webtoon, so I don't know how it plays out. If you're familiar with the way things play out, Hellbound, narratively speaking, and to a certain point, I don't know if that's something the TV show did. I think it was like halfway through, there's a shift that happens in Hellbound. I'm curious, would that be where the future of this would go? I doubt it. I'm sure we'd still be following Daigo, but you never know. Like I said, I'm speaking on Hellbound for an example, if you're familiar with it, but like I said, I only know the TV show. I've only read a tiny bit of the webtoon, so I don't really know how that compares and contrasts. But yeah, like I brought up earlier, I learned that the show is coming back for a second season. I guess the news came out like maybe a few months ago, maybe. I was seeing an article referencing it from like September. So I haven't read the manga that this is based on, but I was coming across some posts on Reddit, and apparently the series is like 120 chapters total. And based on, I saw one person say this, so I don't know, so do take it with a grain of salt, but I saw one person saying that basically the first season covers about 50 chapters. So it's like, okay, roughly speaking, so we're kind of at the halfway point. Once again, it also depends on how much they decided not to include, how much was cut, how much was changed, how much stayed exactly the same. But yeah, so I'd say we're about halfway through the manga story. So I'm wondering, is this going to get the Alice in Borderland treatment where it's like, well, you know, no spoilers, but Alice in Borderland's 2 seasons covered the entirety of the manga story. There were differences. Obviously, things were changed completely. There were like modifications here and there. But the ending of that second season is the ending of the manga. And there's, once again, no spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen it. So I'm curious to see what happens. Like I said, it's not 100% split down the middle evenly, but like I said, it also depends on pacing and stuff like that that will determine whether or not like the second season could probably end up being the last, depending on if it covers the entire manga story or not, which you would assume it would. But like I said, with it being almost roughly around the halfway point, like I said, you edit some stuff like by taking some stuff out, shortening, like, just all depends on pacing and stuff like that. So, but I'm really glad to know there is going to be a second season, because I'm so fascinated to see where this goes. It's interesting too when you consider like where this goes, and you're like, there's going to be a full other season, which I'm like, where's that going to go? It's going to be complicated if we're going to have a full other season continuing this. That's why I feel like, once again, if you're familiar with Hellbound, that's why I feel like we're going to go a little switcheroo, Hellbound. Like I said, if you know, you know. But either way, I'm very, very excited to see season 2 whenever we get it. It most likely won't be until next year. I think I was seeing somewhere they were saying like, yeah, there's apparently a teaser out. I didn't see anything suggesting like there will be a season sometime in 2024. So we'll ultimately have to wait till then to get more specific time frame. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.